Hello, hello.
Hello, good
Hello.
evening.
Hello.
Yo, welcome to episode 3 of our podcast tonight. This is
Between the Hedges, baby.
Between the Hedges. This is Micah, David, and Matthew back at it again tonight. What is up, y'all? Um, so tonight we're gonna do a little college football playoff preview since those final rankings came out on Sunday, and those of you that tuned in, um, I gave a little live reaction to that. So, shout out to you guys for watching that. Thank y'all for sticking around. Thank you for the likes and the subs, and let's keep it going. So, who would like to kick us off tonight? Let's start with Michigan and Alabama. Harbaugh against Saban. Dad, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I would say probably of the two games, I think that's probably going to be the better one, I want to say. Um, I am looking forward to seeing that. Me personally, it seems like can't go wrong whoever wins that game. If Michigan wins, then Alabama loses, which, will be funny as crap. But then again, if Alabama wins, I'm going to say Michigan's getting what they deserve once again, getting their hearts broken in a national semifinal. So, I can't, the way I view it, I can't lose either way, no matter who wins that game. I'm going to be the winner.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that a little bit. I feel like, you know, Harbaugh losing, I'll be happy. Saban losing, I'll be happy. But just in honor of my take on our very first podcast, I'll say that you know Alabama winning is probably in the best interest of my take of the winner of the SEC championship winning it all. So,
Well,
um,
definitely. Yes, I agree with that. I mean, I think when we spoke about that, like you said, I think pretty much, I know me and you, I'm not quite, I can't remember for sure if Matthew said the same and agreed on that, but I honestly thought whoever won the SEC championship was going to be the winner of the national championship. And I still think that. I still think that. Um, if Alabama plays the way that they played against us, they're not going to lose either one of these games that are coming up. As much as it pains me to say that, they're not going to lose. So we'll be celebrating Alabama winning their 47th national title that they claim or something along those lines in about 50 years, it seems like. So,
Matthew,
No, I did not agree with whoever wins the SEC would win it all. Um, just because it wasn't Georgia. So, um, I think uh I think Alabama's going to win this game because they have Michigan's number, and Michigan's just going to be them usual selves. JJ McCarthy's not going to do jack against that defense because they gave Carson Beck hell of a trouble. Um, and I think Alabama runs away with it. The better game, in my opinion, is going to be Washington versus Texas. Um, but I would say with the Michigan Alabama game, Alabama's going to win easily.
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 I could see it going one of two ways. It could be a Alabama runaway victory, or it could just be a good old fashioned football game at the line of scrimmage. Um, so I'm guessing we think that Harbaugh's not going to get his first playoff win in this game.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. And I with the style that both those teams play, it's going to be a line of scrimmage ball game. This isn't Alabama of 2021 where they had Bryce Young and throwing to the two first round wide receivers where they open it up and just light up the scoreboard. This team is more built along the lines of the previous iterations of Alabama where they're strong, strong, strong along the lines of scrimmage. And to be honest, that's how they beat Georgia. They whipped us up front. They whipped us on the line of scrimmage all night long, and we had no answers.
So let's just say that Alabama and Nick Saban, like Matthew said, have Michigan's number and they push them around. Um, they have that edge because of their front seven, you think, on defense, and then the offensive line being superior. Because Michigan's touted all year, oh, we've got the best offensive line in the country. So, Matthew, I see you shaking your head. What do you say about that?
Michigan doesn't have what Georgia and Alabama had. They say that they have the best offensive line, but truth be told, no. Alabama's front seven is going to have a heyday with that offensive line. If they play like they did against Georgia, there's going to be at least 15 sacks, and 5 of them are going to be Turner, because that dude is
That's got to be
hoss.
some kind of record, I would imagine.
Yeah, he's
Teen
probably going to have
sacks.
like 5 or 6, I would say. If he played the way that he did against Georgia, yeah, because he should have easily gotten a few more out of us, but we just ran the scheme pretty good against him for the most part.
Yeah, I see it playing out more along the lines of the way when we played Michigan in the semifinal in the Orange Bowl 2 years ago. And, you know, well, I forget that score is like 38-13 or something along those lines. I mean, we handled them. I mean, it was not a contest. Um, so I mean, we shell shocked them. We knocked them upside the head and then kicked them in the nuts and then body slammed them. So, they didn't see it coming and we just obliterated them. So I see it
It was great.
happening the same way for Alabama, to be honest with you.
That score, by the way, was Georgia 34, Michigan 11. And it really wasn't that close.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't close. It was that.
It should have been like the Georgia TCU game.
Well, I think it could have been if we'd have wanted it to be that way.
Remember, that's the semifinal. We were wanting to keep everybody as fresh as possible for a national championship.
Yeah. The difference was there was not against TCU, there was not going to be a next game. So we just, went balls to the wall and took care of business.
Open up a can. Oh, whoop ass. So, I think we, are clearly saying that Alabama's got the edge here, that they're just going to be more physical. Their front seven, their offensive line's better. Let's just give our early predictions. We don't have to stick with these. Obviously, we've got 3 weeks until these games are being played, but what do y'all think is the score line here, since we've been talking about it being similar to that Orange Bowl?
Well, the thing about the semifinals, the playoff games, at least you're probably not going to see a whole heck of a lot of opt-outs, from the team. So it's pretty reliable that you're going to see the team that you've seen, pretty much all season. So if that's the case, I could see it. Like I said, I think it could be a lot similar to that Georgia score, where you're talking 35, 38 for Alabama, 10 points for Michigan, something along those lines, maybe 14.
Matthew.
Oh, I would say it would probably be right around 42 to 45 to about 14 points. Alabama.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to look at the spread here for that game. It looks like,
I think Michigan's actually favored.
yeah, it looks like Michigan opened as a 1.5 point favorite and it's kind of staying there. Which I guess just is more about this season than anything else, which that's obvious, but yeah, I'll give Alabama the 3-score victory here, something like 31-10.
And watch it turn out to where it's like 20-17.
Yeah, and I mean that's the other way this could go. I mean, we're all saying
It's 21-20. Somebody kicks a field goal at the end of the game to win it.
yeah, and that's if Michigan just takes the air out of the game, and just runs like they did against Penn State in second half. So, all right, well let's move on to the Washington and Texas game. Matthew, you thought this would be the better of the two games, so why do you say that?
Honestly, comes down to their quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers and Michael Penix Jr. They're two very talented quarterbacks. Right now, as the matchup predictor, Texas has the favorite, 68.4% over 31.6% for Washington. So it looks like it could be Texas. It looks like it could be Washington. I mean, that this game will be a lot closer than I think the Michigan Alabama game for sure. They just both sides of field are outstanding in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. So the quarterback play in this game's gonna be a lot better. I'll agree with you there. Um, I think it'll be a closer game than the first one. I also think that was a little bit of the committee's opinion because this is the second game of the night. If you wanted to get cute with the seeding, you could have put Michigan, Alabama second, but um, you know, who knows if that's what they were thinking. But I these are two brand new coaches to the playoff, so I kind of expect a slow start for both teams, even though they're very explosive, just because of some jitters, brand new coaching staffs to this moment. We saw, Georgia in their first playoff appearance start slow against Oklahoma, got down big, came back and won that game in overtime. But, they kind of had to learn the ropes of what a playoff game atmosphere is like. And I think these two teams won't be immune to that. Texas opens as a 4-point favorites, kind of holding steady at that. So, you know, that seems about right. You got two really explosive offenses, like I said. Texas's defense is going to be better than Washington's for sure.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
after what they did to Oregon twice.
So they beat Oregon twice due to getting, stops when they needed to. So I guess, yeah, you're making a good point, but Texas just has a better line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. That's why they went into Tuscaloosa and pushed around the team that you and I are saying will win the national championship now because they beat
That
Georgia.
was in week 2. That team, I wish we had played Alabama in week 2.
I agree.
You know,
Yeah,
we would have beaten them too.
yes, we would have absolutely beaten week 2 Alabama.
So
But
I understand what you're saying, but we caught a much tougher Alabama version.
and everyone in this playoff will as well.
Right.
So, um, who let's who will get his first playoff victory here, Sark or DeBoer? I
Sarkeesian.
actually, you think Sark?
Yeah, I would agree. I think I'm leaning towards picking Texas out of that matchup too. So that would mean Sark would get his first. But I honestly think it's going to be a close, hard-fought game. I think the teams match up pretty well against each other, actually. Um, I mean, we were all dead wrong on that war, the Pac-12 championship. We were all expecting Oregon. I think like most of the college football fans out there were expecting Oregon to just dust them, and get revenge and move on and claim their spot in this playoff. And Washington had other plans, and they made it. They made all of that go away. So um, I could see a close, hard-fought game right here between these two, and I think they match up well. And but I think Texas is going to be the one to pull it out in the end.
So you think they have the edge to pull it out? What's the difference? What's the difference in the game?
Well, I mean, in any game, it's the line of scrimmage. You win the line of scrimmage, and it's playing smart, not getting dumb penalties, and it's turnovers, holding on to the ball and not turning it over. So, but I think on the turnovers, I think you hit a good point there. Both these teams are new to being in the college football playoff. I think Washington has been in it early way, one of the first years, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
That was a different
but
team and different coaching
different
staff.
team, different, I mean, of course it's different team. It was like 8 years ago or 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
So none of the guys that are on the team, none of the coaches have experienced that as far as I'm aware, at least not recently. So I think there are going to be some jitters for both teams to start off. You might see a couple of turnovers right off the bat because people, the team's trying to fill each other out and establish things and, get a feel for the flow of the game and settle in. Then once that happens, then you see who might be able to take over from there.
Yeah. I think I can echo that as well. As far as like, you know, them matching up well, they're pretty similar teams, especially offensively. You got NFL wide receivers all over the field for both of these teams. So
Yeah, how bad is Georgia missing AD Mitchell, by the way?
Right.
I
yeah,
mean,
would have
with
been
our
good to
with
have.
with our injuries, to Ladd and Brock and Rah Rah, how badly would it have helped? How much would it have helped if we'd had AD Mitchell still on our team Saturday. I mean, I know why he left. He made a decision to be back close in Texas, back to home, because I think he's got a young child and stuff like that. But man, I wish he would have stayed around another year with Georgia. It would have made a big difference this season, I think.
I
One
agree.
more weapon, and who knows, maybe we would have beaten Alabama and we'd be talking about Georgia playing Michigan again. Or, well, that wouldn't have happened. If Georgia would have won, we would have been playing maybe Texas.
Yeah, I think the matchup would be Georgia, Texas, Michigan,
Or
Washington.
maybe if Georgia wins, there isn't any chaos and it's us playing Florida State still, but in a
Florida
CFP.
State would have gotten out anyways, regardless.
Yeah, I'm glad we brought this up. So Florida State absolutely got snubbed, right? But I
There were
think
two teams that got snubbed.
yes, and we'll get to the home team as well. Trust me. But Florida State 1000% got snubbed. But the difference is, I think the committee was just looking for a reason to leave them out. I think they were going to get left out anyway. Now that we know everything that we know, I know going into it, I thought they would make it because a Power Five conference champion hasn't been left out as an undefeated Power Five conference champion.
Can't say
So
that anymore.
you can't say that anymore. You also can't say that the number one seed going in didn't fall all the way out because that happened too to our dogs.
Wah, wah, wah.
So
Guess
uh,
what? Now we get to ruin FSU's hearts even more.
you know, I I don't think they care.
I wouldn't
You
even
don't
play the
think
game.
you don't think who cares?
FSU.
I don't think either
I
team
get
cares
oh
about breaking hearts. But what Georgia cares about, what they're gonna care about, is making a statement.
I guarantee you Florida State is looking to make a statement. I guarantee it. They're getting I mean, all season long, Georgia was the number one team. Everybody expected us to follow through, and we were going to be in the college football playoff. They had their best season in years, won every game, won the ACC, and they got snubbed from making the college football playoff. Those guys, now, this comes with a caveat because this is one of the bowl games that isn't part of the playoff. So you never know which players are going to actually be there. And like you're saying, which ones are going to want to be there, their motivation, blah, 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 blah. So you're not really sure what you're going to get. But I could definitely see those guys rallying around each other and saying, hey, let's finish this. Let's beat the, all season long number one team, back to back, two-time defending national champion, and finish our own season as good as possible and undefeated. And then they're going to pull a UCF and claim a national championship themselves if they do that.
See, I think
What a
that's
fun time.
beneath them.
I think it's beneath anybody, but that didn't stop UCF.
That it's UCF. So
I
UCF did
guarantee,
that because
I
they're
guarantee you, if Florida State beats us, especially if they boat race us, they're going to claim a national championship. They will do it because they feel like they should have had the opportunity to play for one.
Matthew. Do you think they're gonna do that?
No,
No.
not at all. They're too butthurt. They just won't care. A bunch of their guys that will probably claim for the draft will opt out of this game and just not play.
Yeah,
So
here's
you
the
think
other.
they're just going to blow their only chance to finish a undefeated season and
I mean,
all
it's
that?
just with their coach. Their coach said, "What's the point of winning all our games? There's no point if you're just going
No,
to leave us out."
his argument, yeah, if you're going to leave us out of the playoff. And I mean, he made a good point. I mean, what's the point of him playing and
Then why should he
all
care
and
for
winning
this
all their
bowl game?
games? Huh?
Why should he care for this bowl game
It's
then?
not that he doesn't care. He's like, what's the point? They won all their games and they still got snubbed. That's what he was
Mhm.
saying. They did everything they possibly could have done. They couldn't do anything else themselves. It was taken from them. And now Georgia doesn't even have that argument because we
We
lost.
we beat
We
ourselves.
didn't do everything that we could have done to still be there. Yeah, we got snubbed. We all feel Georgia got snubbed, and we should have still been in the top four even after losing to Alabama.
I
But
was about to say, Texas and Alabama got the benefit of the doubt there. Um, they had a loss. They didn't do everything they could, but they were conference champs, and that went against us. And you know, in Alabama's case, it's just the Alabama gets the nod regardless. They it's been nicknamed the Alabama Invitational since it's been this 4-team playoff iteration.
9 years.
So I I'm personally glad we're turning the page to the 12-team playoff so that, 4 SEC teams can get in and kick everybody else's tail and be the last 4 remaining next year. So that's probably what's going to happen.
Or the top four that get a bye.
yeah, that won't happen.
Yeah.
It can't.
With this committee, anything can happen.
No, they've deemed those spots are for the conference champions.
Okay.
They have. It's in the bylaws or whatever. That's what 4 conference champions are going to get those spots.
What I want to know is what happens when a conference champion has 2 losses. They're going to be a 4 seed.
Stupid.
And then, say Georgia, same thing, 12-1. But there's going to be a team that's 10-2 that gets a higher seed than them because they won their conference.
Well, with all of that, it almost doesn't matter. You're just splitting hairs. The point is, if you're in the tournament, you're in the tournament. You got to win games and move on.
The top 4 seeds get a bye.
Yeah, they also don't get a home game though either.
Yeah, the remaining ones host higher seeds and they get a home game. That's true. So,
Which I think is kind of the worst part of the new playoff thing is the top 4 seeds that you know won their championships more than their conference. They don't get a home game out of it, but 5 through 8 do. It's kind of weird. Some people would argue it might be better off to be the third best team in your conference in the SEC or the Big Ten. You don't have to play the championship game. You don't get an extra loss losing the championship game, and you might end up getting another home game because you're a 5 through 8 seed then.
that's a good point.
So
And
you're
then you
you're resting not playing a game, and then you get a home game to start off the playoff.
and then you can create some momentum going into that second matchup.
Something to think about.
Do you think teams will do that? Like let's say, for
No, I
instance,
think that I'll answer your question no matter what the for instance is. No, I don't think anybody does that crap. I think these coaches and these players are such egomaniacs, and they'll tell you, Kirby Smart will tell you, I'm in it every game to win the game, period. Doesn't matter. He wants to win every game. Saban wants to win every freaking game he's coaching. And just, let the chips fall where they may from there. So no, I don't think they're going to pull those type of shenanigans. It's just stuff that fans, toy
It's
around
good to
with.
think about.
Oh yeah, I mean, it gives us something to talk about on our podcast.
I was about to
Because I
say
mean,
it's
like,
good. It's good for things like this. Go
It's
ahead, Matthew.
good for business.
does Old Miss could do that, LSU could do that, Tennessee, Kentucky, like
Yeah,
Texas
speaking
now.
of LSU, they on the mocks of the 12-team playoff, if they were, doing that this season, wasn't LSU the first one out in the rankings? Aren't they 13 or 12? Because one of the group of 5 teams takes the 12 spot, right?
Let's
Right.
see.
And so I think LSU was the first team out, speaking of them.
Yep. It would be the
But tell me
bottom.
this, tell me this. If you didn't have the automatic bid for that group of 5 team and LSU made it, even as the 12 seed, do you want to play them with Jaden Daniels in the playoffs?
No.
No.
I don't care how bad their defense is. You don't want to play them because there's a chance and a good one. So that, that they would upset you.
Yeah.
And as a 12, I guess you're playing the 5.
5,
Mhm.
12, 6,
So
11.
so in this case, it would be Florida State, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Rematch. How do you think that's going to go this time without Florida State even having a quarterback or their second string quarterback? Maybe if he's back.
Maybe.
Not good.
Anyway, we're getting off target here, but I mean, it's just wild to think about.
It's good.
Well, it's fun to talk about the what ifs. That's what the playoff kind of brings us. Um, it's a lot better than the BCS still, as much as everybody's been complaining about who gets snubbed every year and who got snubbed this year and how bad of a, just eyesore it was, so to speak, for a Power Five, 2 Power 5 teams to get left out that were very deserving. One a conference champion and undefeated, the other back-to-back national champs, like we talked about. So, and then the committee ranking Florida State ahead of Georgia without a quarterback. Like, come on.
It was just a weird year all the way around. Weird season.
Favoritism.
It just things you didn't have a lot of chaos. There were not a lot of big upsets. You didn't, the past years you could count 1 or 2 weekends a year where it just seemed like everybody got upset. You'd have 5 or 6 upsets, big ones, a certain weekend here or there. None of that happened this year. None of it. So you ended up having at the end 3. If Georgia could somehow pulled that out, you would have had 4 undefeated conference champions. That nothing even close to that has ever happened before with the 4-team playoff era. So it was just a unique season all the way around, all the way to the end. And you know, normally you have 1, maybe 2 teams go undefeated, and then you're trying to scrape and claw to figure out who's the 3rd and or 4th best team that's going to make it. It wasn't the case this year. You had 6, 7, some people would argue 8 teams that may have had a good argument to be in there this season. At least 6. And normally you don't have that. You're like, yeah, should we really put this 4th team in here? They're not going to do anything. But that wasn't the case this season.
Yeah. To wrap it up too, last thought, just looking at this playoff, you have 2 members of the new Big Ten, 2 members of the new SEC. And if you look at the top of the rankings, almost all of the top 12 are Big Ten or SEC minus Florida State.
The new Big Ten and new SEC is what you're talking about, right?
Right.
For next year. Right.
Moving into next year.
Yeah, a little preview of what it's going to be like next year, probably.
All 2 conferences dominating the rankings, and then
the playoff spots.
Then you're gonna have the group of 5 team in there, and an ACC or Big 12 school that makes it. So it'll be interesting. Again, it was a fun season. It was fun to just take this year in. There was a lot of there wasn't a lot of chaos, but there was a lot of good moments, and there's still some to come. So I just I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. I'm still just blown away that we can get on here and talk, and people will listen, people will watch. So we definitely appreciate everyone out there. And what do we want them to do? We want them to like, share, subscribe. What's that?
Clickety-click. Clickety-click.
You're pointing down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if y'all enjoyed this, catch us
and turn on your notifications.
Yep.
Because you never know when we're gonna go live.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's been so inconsistent. But on that, I want to announce a schedule for us. We're gonna be live Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday nights. We will, announce the time, try to post a scheduled stream beforehand, but yes, we will be sticking to a Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday schedule. So we look forward to hanging out on Friday. Everyone have a good night, and
go
take
Longhorns.
Care. No, we always end it.
Go Dogs.
Yep. Go Dogs.
Go Longhorns.